it's MJ from Alta Love and the Matrix illusion. So that's dissolving the illusion of separation from within self, or the distorted / disempowered perspective that you're separate from that which you see, that you're separate from the world around you, that it's all totally random and there's no connection whatsoever, versus making that leap where you are the creator of the experiences that you're having. And how we're able to extend our imaginative field to own the creation that we're perceiving is the extent to which we can embody greater pulling power. So the more sort of pain, suffering, distortion that we can own and transform as our own creation, the more we can transform and uplift that and basically raise ourselves up from within our own conscious awareness. So we're shining light onto dark or distorted creations of a past projection or a projection of a different timeline, however you want to look at it. And then essentially harmonizing that projection from within self, from that kind of 0 point place, that profound and loving source connection that you have inside, and almost like extending your energy bubble to encapsulate or enfold the totality of that which you perceive, the good and the bad, the light and the dark. And so you harmonize that projection from within yourself, and then go within self to imagine something more beautiful. Imagine your most epic life. Imagine the world as you desire it to be. Imagine we live in a very balanced and harmonious and what we'd consider an evolved or enlightened civilization. Not from the past, not from some other time like Atlantis or Lemuria, but here in the here and now. And so the here and now is really the power that we have and the presence that we have to project new, more harmonious timelines. So that means that we're essentially preparing ourselves to live an abundant life, to live a miraculous life, and to live from within a recognition that our thoughts create the reality that we perceive. The thoughts in attachment to the energies. And that has that's a big one when it comes to diving deep and doing the nature of this work. It's subtle. So you recognize that the deeper you go, the more subtle the work becomes. The more subtle you're listening from within self in feedback, kind of reverb with your external reality, because you realize that you're on this journey with the entirety of your external reality. Even the people that we separate from or the people that we let go of, they're still very much a part of our expansive journey. And again, we all know this, but our judgments block our bliss. So our judgments are really what hold us back or hold us in the illusion. So how do we dissolve the matrix? Well, part of it is disengaging with it. Part of it is to intentionally withdraw from feeding the story of mass disempowerment and feeding the story of poverty and enslavement and corruption. And part of the trick or paradox is to be aware of it, to not be in denial of the shadow, to not be in denial of our oneness, of our common collectivity in as far as what we create. We create from a total infinite spectrum, which means we all have potential, and maybe have done in past life. We have potential to create from a place of darkness and disempowerment and enslavement. And here's the weird bit, right? If we're feeling unworthy, if we're feeling like not good enough, then our actions actually don't serve one another, and we end up usually on some point in the upward spiral, we can start to become more aware of like relationships that are sort of bound or on that are in exchange on a certain level. And then we learn from that exchange and we empower ourselves to grow and expand. And often through the shape shifting, that's why people fall away. It's not like one person's better, one person's moving quicker or faster. It's just like infinite, expansive journey. So wherever someone else is, it's just the fact that you're not vibrating in enough in enough proximity. You're not your vibrations aren't close enough in resonance to connect, to come together. So realizing that often when we're going through transformations, that we're shedding and letting go a lot of our old density. And that's how I unfold past creation into my own creative field, so that I own that creation and I take what I need from it, and then essentially let go of all the other stuff. So I'm not letting go of some person who's not worthy, or some person who's rejected me. What I'm letting go of is the stream of energetic exchange that comes from a place of distortion, unworthiness, or seeking approval from other. And I'm at a point in my life where I'm coming into sovereignty and balance, but also self-love, of not seeking a life fulfilled through other, and yet embracing greater social surroundings, embracing friendships and family, being close by, but not seeking my validation, security, stability, protection from, for example, a man. So it's a really interesting time in this life for me. And yet what I've realized is that all in the past cycles, it wasn't deliberate. So now I'm coming into it yet again, a new cycle of creation where every area of my life is being deliberately created. So, part of this big leap expansion for me was actually manifesting the body that I desired and have desired all my life, but have had lots of manipulation and distortion and darkness around the body. And image and all that kind of stuff. And then when I realized that got transformed, it's like, oh my God, this is like really working. And so up leveling the finances and going from, working physically to make money to going into like passive income, online entrepreneurship. So that's another aspect of deliberate creation, kind of hitting a bullseye target in as far as the level of manifestation. And what I know from experience is that you might project a certain amount, and usually if you just let go, it comes in bigger than that. So my last phase of deliberate creation with finances was 500 pounds a week, which was for me like livable and awesome compared to my poor past. And I remember I far exceeded that. I almost, within just a few weeks of owning and transforming my vibrations, I went from like 35 pounds a week to over 700 pounds a week. And I saved up more money. And it was the first time in my life I was able to move out. As I go through another transformational phase and revolution, I'm up leveling that game. And so I'm having to really enjoy the journey and look at all the subtle fears, resistances, contractions around money, and coming into the space of loving it as a creation, as a tool for creation, and as a tool for resource, not just for myself, but for my community, for the people that I love, for my family. So those of us pioneering with that sense of sort of burning desire and discipline and diligence, it's knowing from within self that it's really not an ego game. It's a support game. It's like a manifestation game, how to figure out how to work the manifestation to shine light for as many people as possible, because it really isn't in the external manipulation, which is where we all get trapped. We all get trapped in trying to externally manipulate our circumstances, not realizing that our circumstances are what we've already created. So if we're constantly trying to rearrange what we've already created, we're essentially just putting back the same energy into the force, or into our creation. We're just recycling that same energy. So in essence, that's why meditation, stillness practices, breath awareness, emotional intelligence and emotional awareness, where that all comes in, right? Because it's only in the reconfiguring of those subtle energy streams, either when we're talking, when we're relating to people, whatever we might be doing, that highlight to us where we're limiting ourselves. And that's like a big part of this whole expansion, is that all you're doing is expanding beyond the confines of what we call the matrix, or what we call the system, or what we call the 3D reality, what we call a limited perception perhaps. But of course it's not limited to those in it, because it is the perception. It's the only perception. From the old paradigm, we assume that everybody else thinks the same way that we do. We assume that the whole world is sort of living the same kind of life that we're living, and that's just not the case. You could imagine it rather that it's 7 billion, or however many human beings there are on this planet, even the creatures and the the sentient beings, but that there are actually 7 billion worlds. There's 7 billion pods of creation, like projecting out their version of the world. And so that's where, when you come into that recognition, your co-creative journey and deliberate creation journey can really start to take off, because you recognize that when you begin to deliberately create, you're always coming into alignment with those who are vibrating on a similar frequency. And so you begin to amplify your potential creation and your potential energy stream to create that. So really, we are creating in every single moment the projection that we're going to see next and that we're going to see next. But the timeline and the variance of that are what usually mess us up, because we're so conditioned to be focused on a linear. We're so conditioned to look back and look forward rather than be present with the totality and notice all of our creations making manifest all around us. It's like multiple or infinite timelines. There's no way to kind of rationalize it because it's happening all the time in one moment, right? So ultimately, your presence is what helps dissolve the matrix. Your awareness is what helps dissolve the matrix, and your conscious choosing of being a deliberate creator. And that is what requires inner work. That being a deliberate creator is ultimately the juice, and it's what is the nitty-gritty of this stuff, is that we're so conditioned to be physical with our work and not pay attention to our thoughts and not have to own our emotions. That's where we're getting that's where we get swept up in a lot of the junk, and we disempower ourselves. We give power to other people because we're trying to please them, not realizing that we're actually masking a part of our true essence by trying to please these other people who are also feeding off of the shadow. You know, we're feeding off of systems and institutions and material goods because deep inside we don't feel worthy of our own creation. Why? I'm not exactly sure. I do feel that there were aspects of creation that solidified, you could say, or fell, and that it really shape-shifted the human's remembrance. And that's what more and more beings, I think, are descending or coming down to earth to do, is just help shine light. It's like, well, remember who you are. Wake up, wake up. And it's not about being the same, but it's about remembering our cosmic origins as infinite, eternal cosmic beings. That takes a great shift. But I tell you, once you expand your awareness and reconnect to your cosmicness, a lot of your earthly experiences start to make a lot more sense. And when things start to make more sense from within yourself, it's like you're digging and you're getting closer to, you know, the heart of why you're here. You know, the heartfelt essence of why you're here, whether it's just to remember your own creative status. And sometimes it comes back to that for me, because no longer am I hooking into this idea of like save the world or save the planet. No, we're only here to awaken from within self. That inner awakening is what essentially saves the world. But the world, again, is our own creation. So if we're going at our creation like I have to save the world, then we're still actually coming from a place of lack. That's the weirdness, right? And I'm going plastic free, and I want to talk about veganism because I'm, you know, a pretty happy person and I like the things that I do. So I want to share that, and I feel good in my body. And so I want to share, you know, plant-based vegan diet with people because it's been so transformative for me. But a lot of it came from a place of self-love as well. So that's the inner work, yoking of your own self-love so that you naturally make the choices that are aligned with your highest good, whether it's a vegan diet or whether it's an Oreo cookie or, I don't know, eating pizza. I don't know. Like, everyone's a little bit different, right? And so listening to ourself, yoking self rather than feeding the matrix by buying into the illusion of the matrix, it's heavy duty. It's weird stuff. It's totally weird when we're coming from this like solid 3D reality and like this is how it is to suddenly being like, bang! Nope. That is just a projection in time and space. It's not fundamentally real because separation and materiality isn't essentially real. It's creation and vibration through perception. So that's a God force. That's like where we come into our God force, is that we recognize we are the creators of that which we're seeing. So we start to tap in to the kind of holiness. But that's why in our holiness, we do want to be kind to one another, and we want to be thinking positive thoughts, and we want to be shining light for people. Even this morning, I had to uproot some lost thought in there that I believe that people don't like me. You know, I just have, there it is. There's this thought. People just don't like me. People I've never met, they take one look at me and they just don't like me. So clearly along the way, whether it was from a TV show, or whether it was from my mother or my parents or my sister or friends, I pick up this thought that goes around, people just don't like me. No wonder I've had so much fear around social situations most of my life, because underneath of my behavior, there's like, people don't like me. So the more we can notice those limiting thoughts that put a barrier up between us and other, or put a barrier up between us and our dreams, more importantly, that is the barrier that we want to shine light on. That's the kind of energy stream that you want to be able to look at and be like, hey, I see you. I see that lack of worth, or I see that victim story, you know, that thread of a victim story, and I'm not going to play anymore. That's not who I am anymore. And then remembering or finding a way to yoke the positive thoughts and really vibrationally start to put yourself into the feeling of amazing wealth. You know, how does it really feel to be overflowing in abundance and to be able to truly live your dream life? Because I've said this before, it is undeniable. And sometimes we just have to dig our heels in and say, this is how I want to live. Show me the money, or show me the love, or show me the whatever it is that we're calling in. This January phase for me is very much about, you know, money and abundance and focusing on that. And then I think once that's all made manifest, then I'll focus a little bit more on relationships. Once those threads are done, I'll be feeling really, 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 really good to share next level manifestation and the ins and outs, the nitty gritty. I look forward to sharing with you guys real soon. I hope that was useful to you. Say hi to Jimmy in the background, and just have yourself an awesome day. Love you loads. Peace out, guys.